Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, Infinite Crypto Cruisers. Folks, this is round two for today. I did live stream a little bit earlier. My timing was off, as I told you all back then. I took a impromptu trip to Houston, Texas. So couple hours later here than where I'm from, and I just got all mixed up time wise. So I am excited to share this next guest with you. This gentleman has some amazing experience in the NFT and Web3 metaverse space. He just recently got done buying an NFT every single day for 365 days. He's got an amazing podcast, does a bunch of Twitter spaces, and just excited to share this gentleman with you. He also happens to be a fan of the Pittsburgh Steelers, which is my favorite football team. So we've had a lot of fun kind of chatting and reminiscing about some of that stuff. And without any further ado, let me bring Mr. Brian Fanzo onto the stream. Man, thank you so much for taking the time to be here today with us, Brian.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, here we go, Steelers. Yeah, I mean, I even had my Steeler beanie on before we got started. So anyone that's a Steelers fan is a friend of mine, and excited for the conversation.
Yeah, man, looking forward to kind of diving into your story. One of the things that I love about successful people is I'm always a huge believer in the story behind the story. So often people get to see the polished product, get to see the success that you're having, and they don't really understand the struggle and some of the things that it took, to get you to where you are. So I'd love for you to just start off by maybe just telling us a little bit about your background and some of the struggles you've gone through and how you ended up in this crazy NFT, Web3 space.
Yeah, happy to. It's funny. I definitely not a straight line, and my background, is pretty all over the place. I think for most people, I majored in business information systems, computer science, kind of that side of the world, and I actually worked a decade in cybersecurity for the Department of Defense. So I worked out of the Pentagon here in Washington, D.C., deploying and managing cybersecurity solutions. So I, at the time, traveled to 54 countries, 3 trips to Iraq, 2 to Afghanistan. I've been to every country in the Middle East. And really my goal, or what my team was deploying and what I was there for, was to get the different branches of the military to share cybersecurity policies, embrace new tech and tools that were going on there. And then about a decade in, I kind of had the epiphany that if I don't leave this role now, I'll be working in this space for the rest of my life. And as much as I love supporting those that are active duty military, I kind of wanted to make a bigger impact kind of outside the government realm. So I gave up my security clearance. I had the highest civilian security clearance that you could get. I gave that up, and I spent a couple years as what I would consider chasing what I thought was my dream job, which was a technology evangelist. I was a big fan of Guy Kawasaki and what he did at Apple. And so I went out to Phoenix, Arizona, and worked at a booming data center cloud computing company. And we were hiring 12 new hires a week, and I ran an entire team that was really evangelizing cloud computing as a whole. And that's where I kind of first started dabbling in public speaking. I started becoming really active on social media, becoming kind of a B2B influencer, and started creating content on a daily basis. I had a Google Plus Hangout show that we ran for multiple years in a row every single Monday. We had the likes of like Tony Robbins, Damon John on that show. It was a really cool show, and it was kind of my first foray into social and digital. And then that company got bought out. The data center got bought out by CenturyLink. And they were like, what the hell is an evangelist? What the hell are you doing here? And they kind of gave me my box and said, you're done. And that's the last day I've worked for anyone else. I've been an entrepreneur now 9 years or so. And my main gig is keynote speaking. So I speak around the world. Pre-COVID, I was doing about 60 events a year. Hopefully we kind of ramp back up closer to that, moving forward. But most of what I talk about is kind of I would say the harmony between technology and humanity. So I talk a lot about ADHD and dyslexia, which is what I was diagnosed with as an adult. I talk a lot about kind of where technology kind of fits in kind of our world. And so that was kind of where I was at leading into the pandemic. And all of a sudden, all my speaking gigs were canceled, and I was forced to kind of get off the road and not speak as much. And that's when I started diving into what is a smart contract? What is, creator coins? What do they mean by this, creator economy that we can kind of build? And I would say, 2.5 years later now, I went all in, launched my own coin, launched my own NFTs, then decided, if that wasn't crazy enough, let's do a daily podcast. And we did a daily podcast, launched November 11th of last year. And we finished season 1, November 11th of 2022. And now we're into season 2 of that podcast. I brought on some co-hosts, and, I'm bullish on, I'm advising some projects. I, of course, I've dropped some of my own NFTs, and then most recently kind of dove into AI art. So I like to say I'm a very proud multi-hyphenated individual. And I think you can tell just from that background, cybersecurity, data center, TV, online interview shows. I definitely have a wide array of things that I'm passionate about, but it's what's keep me happy. That's for sure.
Right. Awesome. Now let's dive right in. That buy a NFT for 365-day project really is interesting to me. It sounds like the cool thing about it is that you're packaging up those 365 NFTs and selling them in one big NFT. So maybe tell the viewers a little bit about that, and maybe some of the things that you learned and that might be helpful to them in their journey. Over what so that'd be great.
Yeah. So when Drew and I were, kind of coming up, with the idea of the daily podcast, one of my concerns was like, with NFTs, I don't believe everything has to be an NFT, but I am very bullish on the technology underlying with NFTs. But I know for a lot of people, they have to actually see it, right? Before you have to have that aha moment with NFTs before you can kind of get involved. And a lot of times that requires a financial commitment and, getting money, getting crypto on chain. And so I just said, what if we bought an NFT every day for a year with the podcast? And the parameters I put on that was it had to be pre-reveal in the mint phase. So I wasn't buying NFTs that were legacy or Bored Ape Yacht Club. They had to have launched on that day. And it started November 11th. And so I'll tell you, it was, I thought doing a podcast every day would be the harder of the two tasks when we started. And I was about 30 days in and realized, researching which NFTs to buy. And also because I was holding every one of them, right? I haven't sold any of the 365. I had to think about like, not what was going to be the best flip, what was going to be the best short term, but like really what was going to have long-term value. And so we started, buying one every day. And then I also realized I wanted to kind of spread out beyond just the Ethereum blockchain, right? I wanted to kind of give people a little look in, do my research there. So we minted, an NFT into our collection on 30 plus different blockchain marketplaces, right? Everything from Avalanche, Wave, Crypto.com, to also some of, Polygon. We even did some of the layer 2s off of Ethereum where we minted some NFTs on. So I definitely got my taste of buying NFTs on blockchains that I probably would never recommend people to. I mean, it would take 6 hours to get crypto into a wallet to figure out how to buy the NFT and then figure out the marketplace. So it was a wild ride, no doubt, and learned a lot on the way. We got some of the ones in our collection that we'll be selling later this month are worth a pretty good amount, and they're still building. Some of them, if we would have sold them 6 months ago, we would have made 10, 20x. But of course, some of the projects that have either died off or don't live anymore. But for me, it's pretty cool. We have it's technically a time capsule of the NFT space for that entire year, and because I had to stick within that parameter, it really required me to focus on what was launching each day of the year. And we have a metaverse over on I just had a mind blank on it'll come to me. We created a metaverse environment where you can actually walk through the entire collection and walk through the different hallways and look at all the different NFTs that we bought. And that collection will go up for auction later this month. And whoever buys it will get all 365 NFTs and kind of have a piece of history.
Awesome. So the price of that 365 NFT piece is going to just kind of be determined by the market. Going to be a live auction that people can bid on it.
That's correct. Yep. Yeah. We had some initial people that kind of came in with offers that, they wanted to kind of jump in and buy it. And just to be transparent, I also, to get my community involved, I actually sold NFTs where part of my community owns 52% of that actual collection. So we're not, it's not all going into my pocket. I was able to, those that believed in the project early on, we sold NFTs to do that as well. But yeah, it'll be to, define the market. We've had estimates in the range from, 800,000 to 4 million, but I guess we'll see. It'll be a pretty interesting auction, and I'm excited. I'm using a new contract protocol for the launch of it. So to make it simpler for like that big of a dynamic collection. And so it's taking me a little bit of time to figure that out. I'm actually, creating it myself. So I'm one of those geeks where if I don't see something that is out there to do what I want to do, then I'm going to kind of build it myself. So I'm building out that contract, and it should be fun. It should be the first of its kind, no doubt.
Awesome, man. So I'm really curious to hear. I got involved in crypto back towards the end of 2017 and kind of created financial independence and freedom in my life just through buying and holding, a lot of the top 25 tokens. And then once I had a good foundation, kind of branching out into some of the more speculative altcoins. So how, a lot of my audience is focused on creating financial freedom in their life through cryptocurrency and now NFTs and Web3. So if you're talking to a brand new person that wanted to maybe go that route, the NFT route, to create some financial freedom in their life, what would that look like for you? What kind of advice would you give them, and how would you recommend they get started?
Yeah, it's a great point. And, I think, it's funny for me, I love what crypto kind of afforded for so many, right? And congrats on that. And, for me, when I look at NFTs, the idea of the smart contract really is a really interesting component, right? Where you're able to build on chain. If this, then that happens, right? And you're able to add this layer of, what is referred to as utility, beyond just buying it and flipping it, right? So when it comes to like kind of financial independence, I also think, one of the things I preach is that you kind of have to look at NFTs of what you want to get out of it. And the value can be determined in more ways than just the financial component, right? Where do you want to connect with others that are in like kind of a similar space than you, that care about, certain things, right? If you're in sports, you and I being a Steeler fan, right? There's a project called the Knights of the Degens, which is a project that actually is launched by a VC backed, group. And it's a really, fun project that has, it's paying off financially, that their floor price is well above what we minted it for. But it also opens up, they do poker games, they do fantasy football, they do a bunch of sports utility within their community, right? So it's a project that not only is kind of holding that side, but I will say, like, from a strict financial side, if you're your diamond handings, you're used to kind of the hold mentality, a lot of I would say those blue chips are definitely ones to keep your eye on. I will tell you, like, the Proof Collective, which is the Moonbirds collection as well, is backed by Kevin Rose, who is a very successful Web2 entrepreneur. Of course, you have Yuga Labs and what Yuga Labs has done with Bored Apes, Mutant Apes, CryptoPunks, and that world. But of course, your entry point there is going to be higher, right? So, one of the things I learned with minting NFTs, and that was, minting is really a lot of like speculative altcoins, right? Where you're like, I think this might be good, and I don't know if it's going to be good. I can't guarantee what's going to be 3 months, 6 months, 9 months down the road. But the beauty of minting some of these projects is that you can get in at a very low entry point, low risk, and have the opportunity to have that kind of higher flex. But I think for a lot of people, I think it's a little bit of it, like, how much do you want to be involved? I know for some people that I advise, I advise a couple of people, they have their own bag, where they don't want to be involved with NFTs at all. They're like, tell me where to send my ETH, tell me which ones to buy, and then tell me in 3 years to come back. And so for that kind of mentality, I think it's a kind of a different framework than, hey, I would love to connect, engage, jump into a Discord, maybe sign up for an email newsletter. And I think it just really depends on, what you're looking to kind of get out of NFTs, because they do kind of have that, ever going utility beyond them versus, what you would consider just from a, holding a coin and kind of just paying attention to the market itself.
Okay, makes sense. So now, are any of those 365 NFTs that you bought, I mean, like the utility, do any of them spit off a token or passive income, or are they all just art?
So no, so a majority of them, so there's very few that are actually just art. They're, I would say, I don't know off the top of my head, but I would say in the 20s are mainly just art. So a majority of them are utility based. So some of them are offering an online game that they're building. Right. Some of them have a metaverse component. Some of them, a couple of them are building their own tokenization inside of them. Right. So the tokenomics I'm a big fan of the tokenomics component with NFTs. Right. I think the fungible versus non-fungible aspect I'm a big fan of. So some of them, a couple Bulls and Apes is one that allows you to stake your NFT, and how long you have it staked, you actually earn their token, right? And then you can actually use their token inside of their marketplace or externally. There's another one called Ape Liquid. I'm a big holder, big fan. That's in my collection, which is nice because you can actually stake their NFTs, but you can also stake other NFTs. So if you own like an Other Sides Deeds, which is a Bored Ape project, you can actually stake that in their contract, and then you earn for every day you're in there. And it's an ERC22 token, so you can take what you earn, convert it to ETH, and take it out. And so a lot of people are kind of building that passive income side of holding the NFT, staking it into a contract, and then earning as you're holding it. So that is a beautiful utility, and we're seeing that a lot more with NFT projects. There is a little bit of that, like how to make security not security, and what is the kind of the piece of it, and some of them, I like to say, have Chuck E. Cheese tickets or tokens, and what I mean by that is like you are able to earn some kind of token, but it's not actually an on-chain token, right? It's an off-chain, allows you to do things, which I still think has value and is also teaching people tokenomics, which I like in projects. But there are a big amount of projects now, and many of them that I hold personally, that have really doubled down on that true tokenomics, where it's an actual token that has liquidity behind the actual token that you earn.
Awesome, man. So what's your perfect audience? So you have this podcast, you're now going to be doing it 3 days a week. Like, who's your perfect person to come listen to you? What are they going to learn, and like, what are you looking for an audience member?
Yeah, so I like to say, my goal has always been to translate the geek speak, right? So I'm a big geek. I love, writing contracts. I love being in the weeds, but I feel like one of my strong suits as a podcaster, as a speaker, is kind of simplifying and translating. Like, okay, here's the perspective, and I don't focus a lot on breaking news or directly only emerging trends. I'm more of a big fan of like letting us see the bigger picture, right? So I'm beta testing the Starbucks Odyssey NFT. So Starbucks went all in with NFTs, and they're using an engage to earn mechanism, right? So I've bought a coffee for 5 weeks in a row at Starbucks, so I just earned an NFT for free, right? I bought the coffee, I earned the NFT. The floor price on that NFT right now is $380. So by simply buying coffee, it got me an NFT that I could sell for $380 right now, which probably breaks even for 5 Starbucks coffee. No, just kidding. It's like Starbucks isn't that expensive, but so like I like taking those use cases, Starbucks, and trying to simplify and say, okay, why is this working? What could you launch if you want to launch your own project, or what should you look for in other projects? So for my audience, I would like, I like to say it's not really a beginner's audience. I actually created a second podcast last year that is, it's getting started with NFTs. So it's 12 episodes that I created just for those that are like, I don't really understand NFTs at all. I break down it in those 12 episodes. But if you're looking for, like kind of translating what's going on, understanding what's working, what's not working. And I like to think, like, I really do talk, we talk metaverse, we talk gaming, we talk a little bit about like the entrepreneur mindset that exists kind of in this Web3 space. So that's really who I'm, kind of dialed in on. We do capture them on video each day as well. So we do have video versions. So for those that aren't into podcasting, even though if you own an iPhone, the podcasting app is on your phone. I know not everybody is a podcast listener, but we also have them up on YouTube as well for those that want to, kind of consume that way as well.
Awesome. So what's your favorite place to have people come find you for the first time? Is it Twitter?
So yeah, I like to say I'm active on every platform. I've been a content creator, monetizing my content for almost 9 years now. But Twitter is my first love. Twitter is definitely the platform that I am most engaged with. I've been there. I got verified in 2015. I have 140,000 followers or so over there on Twitter. But I'm just as active on Instagram. I post almost daily on LinkedIn. I do a lot of content over there on LinkedIn as well. For me, I've always focused on kind of the business angle. I'm not as much vanity or kind of the I have a degen side of me. I flip some NFTs. I have no problem flipping, buying, and selling. But I'm much more on like, hey, where can we turn this, the business? I advise, companies like Twitter, Dell, IBM. So for me, I do some stuff over on LinkedIn. But yeah, Twitter, for those that are looking for regular updates or want to hit me up with a DM, Twitter is definitely the place. And I'm iSocial fans. So the letter I, social, and then FANZ. My last name's Fanzo. I created 10 Twitter accounts 10 years ago because I thought I had 10 things to talk about. And so I just put fans at the end of every one of them. And the one that stuck for my brand and business is iSocial Fans. So yeah, whichever platform, people love to engage with the most, you can definitely check us out there.
Awesome, folks. So yeah, for those of you that are listening live, I just threw the link to the Twitter and to his link tree in the comments, so you can find just about any platform that he's on. And then all of that will be added to the description of the video also. So if you're coming in behind and watching this, after the fact, all of the links to find Fanzo, go to his Twitter to follow him and to, learn from him will be there. Absolutely. So this Starbucks thing kind of caught my attention. I hadn't even heard of that. Is that something that those of us that are watching this video can get in on, or is it too late?
No, not too late. It's United States only. So they rolled it out. They had made the announcement. It's actually, they combined it with their Starbucks rewards program. So they did it really neatly. They have one of the largest reward programs in the world. And what they did was it's called Starbucks Odyssey. And they actually were not trying to polarizing people. So they actually don't even call it NFTs. They call them stamps. And they don't call it a wallet. They call it a passport. And they're using the platform Nifty Gateway, which is a platform. I actually launched my own AI art over there on Nifty Gateway. But what's nice about Nifty is that you can buy and sell with fiat. You don't even have to have it in crypto. So they're definitely using it as an onboard ramp. But you can sign up right now. They're slowly adding people. I was part of the kind of the first wave of beta users. So they're still in beta. I think there's only there's less than 700 people that last time I checked, which was a couple of days ago. But you can sign up for it. I would just go check out Starbucks Odyssey, and I'll tell you, it's really neat. You're able to like win a trip to I think to Costa Rica to see their entire coffee experience. You can win Starbucks for life. You can buy their NFTs, right? So which would give you more rewards in the Starbucks store, or you could do what I've done and kind of earn them through some of the gamification. And one of them just happens to be if you buy a coffee every week for 5 weeks straight, they actually give you an NFT, which I thought was another pretty cool mechanism. So yeah, definitely go check it out. If you're in the United States, you can sign up for it, put your email in, and then once they kind of go through the list, then they'll onboard people.
Yeah, my wife will love to hear that, because one of the things that gets me in the doghouse is anytime I go to Starbucks and I don't get her reward points. So
yep, and I'll tell you, I was in Starbucks 3 days ago. Went to Starbucks, scanned my rewards, right? So I just opened my phone, scanned my rewards, drove back home, refreshed my screen, and it had already updated my NFT. Like they have really baked it in their entire system. And even their employees are familiar with it because it's kind of a new faction of their reward piece. And I mean, I'll make that prediction, right? I think, it might not be called an NFT, but we're going to see pretty much all of the big rewards platforms that are out there are going to have some sort of digital ownership, component that allows you to buy and sell aspects of that reward system. And I think Starbucks is leading the way. I mean, they spent a long time figuring out. It's on Polygon, so they're using Polygon, as the platform. They're using Nifty Gateway as the marketplace. But they've done a great job. Their metaverse experience, like I'm not a huge metaverse maxi in that way. Like I think metaverse is cool, but like I have to find like a use case. But I open it up on my browser and you go through the experience and they actually walk you through as if you're going through the Costa Rica coffee farm. I learned things about coffee that I didn't even know that I cared about learning. And so, yeah, it's a pretty neat little thing that Starbucks is doing. And I'm sure we're going to see other brands kind of copy that, kind of that same fold.
Sweet. So I know with with ICOs and companies launching, there's a couple of different websites that you can kind of go to that'll keep you updated. Is there something like that for these companies that are launching these? How do people stay up to date on these companies when they launch these programs?
Well, you know, it's funny. You said you got into crypto in 2017, right? So if you think of crypto 2017 and what did the exchange world look like, right? What did the market, kind of maker look like? It was a little bit convoluted, and I think the NFT space has had that a little bit as well, right? OpenSea, so OpenSea.io is the #1 marketplace for NFTs, but you should think of them more of like a Amazon, eBay than anything else, right? It's just a place that you can actually buy and sell, but you can create your NFTs pretty much anywhere, and they can be viewed and looked at there on OpenSea. So OpenSea is the place where a majority of people are going to kind of look at the trends. But there are some great tools that have kind of come out that allow you to see what are the best NFTs right now, what are the biggest movers. I'll give you two, and I have no financial connection, no back end on these. I try to stay non-biased. Gem.xyz. Make sure it's .xyz. .xyz. So gem.xyz is a great one if you're looking kind of to monitor Ethereum or kind of mainnet NFTs. Gem.xyz gives you the top trending. You can do a lot of searching. And then there's a really great app for your phone, which is brand new. It's called the Floor app. And what's neat about it is you can watch or look at your own wallet and kind of track trends. I can tell you, like, one of Goblin Town, which is an NFT that I hold, it's up 22% in the last 24 hours. So you can do a lot of that. So there are a lot of people building on it because, of course, it's on the blockchain. But depending on your chain, like if you're a Solana NFT holder, which I hold a lot there. Magic Eden is the name is the most popular marketplace there. So I would check out Magic Eden on the Solana side. But, even Coinbase has their own marketplace for NFTs. Crypto.com has their own, rest in peace. There used to be an FTX marketplace at one point. That, of course, no longer exists. I only had one FTX NFT, so I didn't even care that one disappeared. But yeah, the marketplace component, definitely there's a little bit everywhere when it comes to the chains, but there are some great tools that are kind of simplifying the data for us to kind of manage.
Okay, cool. And then what about like for specific companies? Like I'd never heard of this Starbucks Odyssey program, and I'm assuming that here pretty soon there's going to be a Coca-Cola program, a McDonald's program. I mean, is there any way on a website that you can kind of keep up to date with these Fortune 500 companies when they start exploring the NFT space?
There isn't. As crazy as it is, there are some sites, I don't have, I'm not affiliated with any of them, but like NFT Evening is an email newsletter that I sign up for, that they do an email blast every day and just give you, these are the projects launching today. I think that's actually helpful, right? It gives you a little idea of what's coming. And then there's NFT.now is probably the most popular, their news one, right? So when Starbucks put out their press release, that of course there, but the NFT space lives and breathes Twitter, right? And much like the crypto space does a lot on Twitter as well. So I really do stay tapped in, mostly through Twitter to know what's coming, what's emerging. That's kind of where I think a lot of that kind of information is out there right now. And I'd say it is a little hard to kind of know what is like coming in the future, right? A lot of this has been, it's actually what made it so hard for me to buy an NFT every day, because I would spend forever researching, okay, here's 12 that are launching next Thursday. And I had to weed it down to one. And then I had a hope that it wouldn't sell out. I had a hope that they weren't going to push their date. I had a hope that I moved crypto into the right wallet. So that 365 days was a roller coaster, just trying to, early on, November, December, January, February of last year, easy. I mean, there were so many projects. I mean, the amount of NFT projects were insane. The last 3 months of the project, right? If we looked at September, October, November, definitely a different market. And me finding not only a good project, but a project that would hold to their mint date that I believe would be around for many months was a lot, more difficult. But I feel like, for anyone that, NFTs, although, they've been around now, I've been in the space a little over 2 years, definitely the FTX piece, a couple other things, we all kind of retracted, much like a lot of the crypto space. So it's definitely not too late to get in. Some of those instant returns that people were seeing in 2 weeks, getting 10x, 50x, those, I don't see them coming back anytime soon. But I do see some of the projects that you can jump in now and expect, a pretty good return, in the very near future, or even a little bit longer in the future. And I'll say, the entry point, I was advising some of the people in my community to jump in a couple of projects that were in like the 60, 70 ETH range. Moonbirds happen to be one of them. And I believe Moonbirds now is at 23 ETH at the moment, right? And I still believe when they got in at 60 was the right point, because I am fully confident that a year from now we'll laugh that at 60 was their entry point. But the fact that they're available now at 20 and 30 is a pretty nice entry point for those that are liquid and want to kind of get into the space. And you can go on OpenSea and just look at the top, and you can literally search by what the top 10 collections are, and you're going to have Bored Apes there, you're going to have CryptoPunks, you're going to have Moonbirds, you're going to have Me Bits, a lot of that ones up there, and you can look at their their chart, right? They definitely hit all-time highs in the late fall of last year, but they're still building, they're still putting out information on a regular basis. I mean, the Proof Collective, which owns the Moonbirds, they have a massive conference that they're launching, in a couple months, and they're one that they're involved. A16Z is involved in a bunch of these projects as well. There's some VCs playing, so I'm not sure. Depending on your audience, right? Some people like to see what the VCs are playing and then follow. Some like to see what the VCs are playing and avoid. But I'd say do your own damn research. That's for sure.
Awesome, I love it. So I just posted the link also to your podcast. So I think we're getting them going on things. You mentioned you do a lot of public speaking. So who's a good client for you? Like who, if they're watching this show and they like what you have to say, who do you like to go in-person events? Do you like to do virtual events? What's your favorite kind of public speaking?
So I do, I would say I do a wide range, because of my background. It gives me opportunity to talk about a lot of different things, right? But mostly, I'm labeled as a digital futurist, right? So I really try, and this can go from, you could be an association. I speak at associations. I speak at corporate events. I do a lot of enterprise tech was really where I spoke a lot at, right? So Amazon, AWS, Dell, EMC, I've spoke at their event every year, from, SAP, HP, a lot of those like large conference events, I'm usually one of the keynote speakers, and I talk about kind of twofold, right? I talk about, empowering people to look at technology differently, right? So people that, if your audience or your company or your team is kind of like unsure about technology or emerging technology, I kind of break down things. I'm not one that looks at like robots as taking over the earth and try to scare people. I try to kind of translate and let people see some of the use cases that are available. And then I have a talk on artificial intelligence. So I know that's a big trend right now. So I give a talk on that, where if people want to like, how is artificial intelligence going to impact my business, right? And I'll say, just as an example, last year in 1 week, I spoke at a dental hygienist association event. The next day I spoke at the Dell event. And then the next day after that, I spoke at Geneva Financial, which on the real estate financial side, and they brought me into their corporate event. And I talked to all three of those audience. I think one of the things that, I pride myself on is I really focus on, translating some of the use cases for the different industries that I'm presenting in front of. But we do virtual, here I have a 3-camera setup here at my house. I've done a lot of virtual events, but if I had to say what I prefer, get me on stage, give me 45, 60 minutes, anywhere from, I've done AWS's yearly conference with 35,000 people in the audience, or if you have 35 people for your yearly retreat, I also do those type of events. So pretty wide gamut.
Sweet. As far as artificial intelligence goes, I mean, I know that you don't really spend a whole lot of time in the token, like cryptocurrency token, but I've heard a lot of people say, we had our DeFi run, then we kind of had the metaverse run last year. A lot of people are saying that some AI tokens might be kind of the next hot thing. Do you have any thoughts at all on that?
I think this is definitely the year of AI, right? And I think it's going to go full gamut, right? So we have AI art, which I've now, I've actually, I like to tell people, I consider myself artistically challenged, right? My daughters might make fun of me when I draw or paint or anything, but I found AI art last summer, and it really just allowed me to create backgrounds for my slides. And then all of a sudden I started being able to tell stories with the art. So I actually launched two of my own collections on AI art. And I have an AI art piece that I'm creating every day for 365 days. So keeping on that brand. So the AI art piece is one of them.
Okay.
What we've heard a lot about in the last 14 days is ChatGPT, which is OpenAI artificial intelligence platform. Microsoft had already put $1 billion into them, into the OpenAI platform. Elon Musk is involved there. We actually just heard news in the last 24 hours that that actually Microsoft is trying to buy half of that platform for $10 billion. They're going to own 49%. But I think the bigger picture of this is, AI, where we're moving, right? A lot of it is, data in, data out, but a lot of it's been in the works for many years, right? Microsoft bought LinkedIn 7 years ago. People couldn't figure out why. It was an AI play. They wanted more data, more information. And partially how I know that is I've worked with both Twitter and IBM on their machine learning AI team. So I was a beta tester. I was actually an alpha tester for IBM Watson and how they were using, kind of AI data. So when I think about it from a coin side, right, we're going to see some of these platforms they're making so much hand over fist, right? But they also have a very high operating budget, right? ChatGPT is the one that is the newest. And rumor has it their run rate per day is between $2 to $4 million per day they're spending just to do all the people that are using it. And so I think we are going to see some, exciting tokenization there where they're going, probably going to do a lot of that, combination of airdropping tokens, launching their own tokens. And then I also think we need to look at some of I would say the traditional exchanges or marketplaces that have done well in crypto, but they're still kind of figuring out like what's their long-term play in the wallet management versus exchange, right? We heard, Visa news where Visa's trying to, allow crypto be purchased directly without ever needing an exchange, right? So, I think one of the things that I would pay attention to is what are some of these big exchange players? How are they looking at AI technology to fit into, everything from what they're, presenting to us from data, but also like what are the things that they're using for, future models and such? Because I think that's actually a good place to kind of pay attention to because AI has been, in the works. I mean, we've been using it. If you use Gmail, you use it every day. AI, machine learning filters your inbox. If you use Siri or Alexa, smart speakers, they're using some version of machine learning. But it's finally getting to a point now where we're able to work with it. And we have these different models and data sets that are mature enough that we're going to see, we're going to see big players across the board, right? Don't be surprised. You're going to hear announcements from Amazon, from Google, we're going to hear announcements probably from, Coinbase and even, some of the other ones there where they're definitely going to be integrating AI within their kind of ecosystem and in their market. So definitely something to pay attention to for sure.
Awesome, man. So I was on BitBoy Cryptos Around the Blockchain a few weeks ago, a month or two ago, and I mentioned that in previous years, when I was kind of at, Thanksgiving dinner, Christmas holidays, that I would kind of talk a little bit about crypto and NFTs, metaverse. But if I got any pushback, for the most part, I just kind of relaxed. I just let it go. It wasn't worth, creating tension over. But when I was on BitBoy Crypto, about 2 weeks before Thanksgiving, I actually kind of passionately said, this is the year to keep pressing forward, that your friends and family and your loved ones that aren't in these spaces yet are going to get wiped out by inflation and the monetary policies and the things that are going on behind the scenes. I talked a little bit about how I really believe the elite are trying to take, more and more control. I really believe that the separation, that the middle class is going to get wiped out. And if we're not careful, we're going to have the rich and the poor. And I really said, man, this is the year to put your foot down and tell them horse shit. I mean, right now, you're wrong. It's okay to tell people they're wrong. I'm just wondering, what would you have to say to people that are watching this that are maybe still scared to jump in, that haven't bought an NFT, haven't bought any crypto, that don't realize that this could be really one of the last opportunities to create some separation between zero and the elite and wealthy in their life so that they actually can have some choices and have the possibility of living a good life here over the next 5, 10, 25 years.
Well, I think it's such an interesting spot, right? Because, I like to think that, forcing people to change, especially where we're at right now with the economy, war, very divided country, I think is really hard, right? But I do believe helping people change via use cases like the Starbucks run, right? Like I'm using ones here. When you ask me, I could give you a whole one, but like I'm using ones that people can actually take and now translate, right? Where someone can actually now visualize like, oh, Starbucks is rewarding me with something I own that I can actually turn in to fiat or crypto. That changes the narrative, right? And so I always tell people like to shift perspective is easier than forcing people to change, right? So shifting their perspective often comes in use cases that they can relate to. And then also I think shifting the conversation, right? Because if we're just talking about currency to currency, or people are like, oh, I investing in stock versus investing in crypto, I think it's a conversation that for many, they don't even know enough to know what their own stance is on stock. So like you're in a weird place to argue. But when you're talking generational wealth and you're talking outside of the control from one entity and true decentralization, well, now they don't really have a place to stand on, because where in their life today can they honestly say, like, they can't go to their bank and go we all went to the bank and said, we want our money back. We know damn well that doesn't happen, right? It's impossible. The banks don't have that. And so that narrative, right? Like, I mean, I have a bunch of ledgers, right? That are I got my daughters a ledger. Each one of them have their own ledger. And when I did that, my dad was like, "What the hell? Like, why would you do that?" Now my dad, I got into crypto, a little bit less into NFTs, but part of his aha to it was like, oh, wait a second. Like, unlike stocks, unlike some of these other pieces where we learned in FTX the hard way, right? Like, and I think the other piece of it is educating, like, FTX was not a crypto problem. It was a greed problem that has existed since the beginning of time. Like technically crypto and blockchain worked. It did what we knew it was going to do. It's just the fact that, we let a madman kind of off the loose, and we didn't double check his, the greed behind there. But I think like that's a big piece of it. And I mean, let's face it, the media is doing us no favors, zero favors, right? I mean, every single day. But I believe the media is doing that because it's so much easier to hate the unknown and try to continue to delay the change than it is to actually embrace it, right? And so when people are kind of pushing back, I think the other place that we can go on this is like, it's one thing to kind of like understand where we're at today. But I don't know if anybody that believes the media is the one that's going to tell us where we need to be tomorrow. Like, I don't, no way in hell that. And so if you agree that they're not the ones, maybe we need to start thinking about like, if they're so against it and we're seeing so many great use cases, like, let's think about it a little differently. So I'm a big fan. Like, for me, the conversation really isn't ever like, you need to buy crypto. The conversation's more like, man, I know those times are tough, but I don't know what you did, but I was able to exchange. Like, when I was in London, and if I needed to move money or transfer things, I was able to do it in an instant to someone in another country without any intermediate, without any thing in between. And we transferred wallet to wallet. And when I tell people that, they're like, wait, how did you do that? Like, you didn't have to like, there's no Western Union, there's no, Wells Fargo involved. I was like, no, they gave me my wallet. I have my wallet. I sent them, and they're like, wait, instantly. And so like those use cases to me are so powerful. And I think we sometimes allow the media negativity use cases to overrun what people visualize when they think of, crypto, NFTs, blockchain, that entire space.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you bring up some amazing points there. I also love, the ledger. The thing that I think is so great about that is, a lot of old school people have some gold, they have some silver, but they don't realize how hard it would be to convert that into real world uses. And then, I mean, I don't think that it's ever going to get to that point, but at the same time, if something came up where you really just wanted to get out of the United States and flee for safety, how are you going to carry around a bag of gold? How are you going to get, out of the country? You can literally grab your ledger, leave everything else behind, get to wherever you're going, and pop that sucker into a computer and have your funds available to you, buy anything that you need. And I really love the way that you explained that. Such a great, what was the line that you said then? Rather than changing their mind, you like to change their perspective?
Yeah. Yep. So yeah, because changing people. I mean, no one likes to change, and we have an adverse effect to change, right? As soon as you tell me there's a better app for me to use something, I'm like, no, I got plenty of apps. Don't give me another damn app. I don't want to learn anything, right? Like, so we are adverse to change. But if I'm like, hey, I just if you give me an open mind, I want to give you my perspective on this, and letting people shift their perspective. Now that's a lot easier because now they're all of a sudden they're like, oh, and I'll tell you a great example you used with like fleeing the United States. For a lot of people, they're like, when would that ever happen? But let's flip it the other way. What if you were interacting internationally in a world, your business was interacting with other people's countries where they had that happen, right? Where their own internal government was under attack, or they all of a sudden, right? And the idea that we also have a marketplace to buy and sell and transfer that is not limited by borders, right? Like I just got back from Toronto this week, right? And as much as Toronto is a 1 hour flight from Washington, D.C., it is kind of funny when we think about exchange rates and money conversions and bank interactions. And I got Wells Fargo popped up and charged me something ridiculous and I'm like, I literally was buying a coffee. Like what, like you got to be kidding me. And so like, I think of it that way as well, right? Like the fact that this all comes down to, and when I tell people about NFTs, my conversation is pretty simple. I ask them, what do you think of digital ownership? Like, what do you own in the digital world, right? We own a car, we own a house. Like, how do you prove we own a house, right? I can go up and take a picture of your house, but I don't own it. So when someone tells me like NFTs are useless, you can't own, it's not like I can own the Mona Lisa, right? Or what? But it's no different than if I take a picture of your house and post it online, I don't actually own that asset. I have to actually have the deed to the house and so on. In the digital world, we spend 50% plus of our time digitally connected to our phones and our devices, yet we have not had a transparent place to provide authenticated digital ownership, right? I can't verify if someone owns a website. I can't verify you own your email. There's been no real way for us to do that, which has allowed the likes of Facebook, Instagram, Amazon to own our data and to take our data and sell it and make all the money. Well, how do we flip the narrative? We take back ownership in our way, right? And so like I believe in the very near future, every handbag that you buy, every digital service that you buy will come with an NFT that will go into your wallet that will verify you own it, and it'll allow you to have like kind of that proof of ownership online, because you can't really argue right now. There has never been a way for us to prove ownership online. Right. And it's not about saying that we're going to live in the metaverse. It's admitting we already spend 50% of the time here, yet for 50% of our life, we have no way to prove ownership, yet ownership exists in everything we do in the other 50%, right? And I think, that's where crypto comes in nicely as well, right? Because when we think about, for me, thinking about, a marketplace and exchange, being able to move things without borders, without limitations, without somebody telling me where, when, why, what hours, where, like all of those things that have prevented us from true scale and true anonymity in this world exists where we're at right now in Web3. And I'm bullish. I'm, no doubt all in. I know like yourself, like the beauty of this, I think for so many others to have to see it is, I think part of it is like, it's kind of like Apple Pay, right? No one thought I'm gonna wave my phone. Both same people said, I would never carry a phone in my house. There's a phone on my wall, right? Yep. And how many people have a phone on their wall now? Like only hotels, like literally only hotels. So like if you think about that, and then we think about buying with your phone. I mean, I lost my wallet last summer. I lost it on a roller coaster with my daughters. 2 months, I did not have a physical card, and I was able to transact anything I needed with my phone. Apple Pay, pretty much everywhere, every gas station, every place I took my daughters. And to me, like, I remember people telling me that's the dumbest technology ever that we're going to buy with our phone. It doesn't make any sense. It's not going to fix, money or transactions. And like the funny part about that is now we're one step away from, I have a Coinbase card, right, which is connected to my Apple Pay. So I can transact directly with my crypto. And the beauty of it is I'm not stuck in Apple's ecosystem, right? Apple Pay is an Apple only piece of it, right? I need them to be playing in Apple. And so we're going to see people change. I focus less on mass adoption, and I focus more on the right adoption, right? Okay. We need more enterprise. We need more, I mean, honestly, we need more generational money to come and play, right? I know some of the, the Middle East players, I paid a lot of attention to what Kevin O'Leary was doing in the DC area, as far as, talking about some of those, some of that family wealth that we know is at an echelon that isn't anything that we've seen before. But I think a lot of that entry point happens when we see some of the transactional use cases, right? Buying and selling, being able to transact and purchase. And, you know, like I even have my own creator coin on a layer 2, and we created a marketplace in our Discord. And so I have a pair of Jordans that I bought with my own cryptocurrency. So he wanted to get the utility of holding a certain amount of the coins, but he didn't want to buy it. And he's like, hey, I bought these brand new sneakers. And I was like, all right, I'll send you 93 ADHD coin. You send me back, you send me the Jordans. And like, to me, that's just like magical right there alone, right? Because we're creating kind of our own economy. There was no exchange of, you know, dollars or cents or transactions or PayPal or Venmo or all of that nonsense. We were able to really transact, you know, 100% on the blockchain, which I think is where we'll get people, right? That change is going to take a little bit of time. That's for sure.
Yeah, man. Awesome. Well, today was just fantastic. I thank you so much for coming on the show. I know you've got more appointments coming up. You've got a jam-packed schedule, so I really do appreciate taking time out of your life to come share with us in our community. And once again, folks, go look at the description of this video. I'll have his Twitter handle in there, the podcast, his LinkedIn. And one real quick thing, does your LinkedIn have any information about the token that you mentioned to me earlier that you had created? You have your own token?
So it is linked in the link tree, but I will tell you, you know, your audience will respect this and understand this. The layer 2 that we are working with, rally.io. So RLY is on the mainnet. Okay. They've actually starting to dissolve the creator platform. So we're in the midst of figuring out moving our coin, but it's called the ADHD coin. I've created a ton of content about, you know, how I created it on the layer 2, the bonding curve, some of the mechanisms that we used. So yeah, it's out there. And you know, I like to say stay tuned because I'm figuring out where my next coin play is going to be. And I learned a lot of lessons building it on that layer 2 that I don't think I'll play in the layer 2 coin space. Probably again, I'll probably stick to layer 1 blockchains moving forward, but it's been a hell of a ride, that's for sure.
Awesome, man. Well, when that next next token comes out or any of these updates, I look forward to having you back on the show again.
Sounds like a plan. Thanks for having me.
Okay, man, you bet. Thank you very much for being here. God bless all of you. We'll see you on Around the Blockchain. If you have a chance, go hit Around the Blockchain here. I'll be on there in about an hour. And if not, we'll just see you in the next video. Have a great day, guys.